A shipment doesn't arrive. Not because of a storm you can see, but because something shifted far away. At a port, at a border, along a route most people never think about. The trucks still move for a few days, stores still open, shelves still look normal if you walk in at the right time. But then small gaps appear. A missing brand here, a shorter row there. Prices adjust quietly. Deliveries come in late, or not at all. In the first 3 days, most households don't notice anything serious. They rely on what's already in their kitchen. Maybe they buy a little extra, just in case. But by week 3, the pattern changes. Selection shrinks. Restocking becomes unpredictable. You don't see empty stores. You see inconsistent ones. And that's the real signal. Shortages don't begin with emptiness. They begin with uncertainty. We've seen this pattern before. Different causes, same outcome. Supply chains don't break all at once. They stretch, then thin out, then fail to keep up. And when that happens, the households that stay calm plan differently. Most households prepare for comfort, not duration. That difference doesn't matter on day 1. It barely matters on day 3. But by week 3, it becomes very clear who planned for time and who didn't. In the early phase, people rely on routine. They cook what they usually cook. They shop the way they usually shop. It feels manageable because the system still looks familiar. But underneath that surface, supply is tightening. Imports slow down. Local inventory gets stretched. Stores start limiting certain items, not because they're gone, but because they can't guarantee the next shipment. By the 3rd week, the shift is visible. You don't always find what you need. You substitute more often. You adjust meals around availability instead of preference. And if you didn't prepare ahead of time, you're now competing with everyone else who is trying to do the same thing. Stretch what's left. This is where preparation stops being about convenience and starts becoming about control. Most people think preparedness means buying extra food, but that's only part of it. The real difference
Here are some
comes
common
from what
packaged
kind
snacks.
of food you choose,
And here are bulk
and
staples
how
like
long
flour
it
and
can
rice.
actually support
The packages
you.
are convenient,
Because
but
the
bulk is often
uncomfortable
cheaper.
truth is this:
It's a trade-off between
most
price and
households
convenience.
prepare backwards. They stock what they enjoy, not what endures. They fill shelves with snacks, frozen meals, and quick options that depend on electricity, refrigeration, or constant replacement. It feels like preparation, but it's built on short timelines. When conditions change, when power becomes unreliable, when restocking slows down, those choices lose value quickly. Even some so-called survival foods fall into this trap. They're expensive, heavily marketed, and often not practical for long-term use. They solve for fear, not for duration. Real preparedness is quieter than that. It doesn't try to impress, it tries to last. And that brings us to the key shift, the way you evaluate food when duration matters more than comfort. Instead of asking what tastes good or what's convenient, you start asking different questions. How long can this sit without going bad? How many calories does it provide for the space it takes? How much effort does it take to prepare? Can it handle heat, humidity, or storage stress? And how much value are you actually getting for what you spend? That's the framework that changes everything. Shelf life becomes the first filter, not weeks, not months, years. Because disruptions don't come with a clear end date. Then calorie density. You're not just eating for preference, you're maintaining energy over time. Foods that carry more calories per kilogram or per container give you a stronger buffer. Next is preparation simplicity. If a food requires complex cooking, long boiling times, or consistent fuel. It becomes harder to rely on when conditions aren't stable. Then storage stability. Heat, moisture, and pests don't wait for a crisis to damage your food. If it can't survive your environment, it won't survive long enough to matter.
Subtotal is 650.
And finally, cost per calorie.
Plus 3 for milk.
Not just what you pay, but what you actually get in return. Once you start looking at food through that lens, your choices become more strategic. You stop buying randomly. You start building a system. Based on that framework, there are 9 foods that consistently hold their value when duration becomes the priority. The first is rice. It's simple, widely available, and stores well when kept dry. More importantly, it provides a strong calorie base. When other options become limited, rice becomes the foundation you can build meals around. It solves the problem of volume and energy in one place. Then come dried beans. They require some preparation, but they bring something critical: protein and fiber. When fresh sources disappear, beans help maintain nutritional balance. They extend meals and make basic staples more complete. Lentils follow closely behind. They cook faster than most beans and still provide protein and density. In situations where fuel or time is limited, lentils become a practical advantage. Next is canned meat, tuna, chicken, simple options that don't require refrigeration until opened. They deliver ready-to-eat protein, which becomes increasingly valuable as fresh meat becomes harder to access. They solve the problem of immediacy. Peanut butter is another quiet asset. It's calorie-dense, shelf-stable, and requires no preparation. A small amount delivers significant energy. In tight conditions, that efficiency matters more than variety. Powdered milk adds another layer. It provides nutrients that are otherwise difficult to store long-term. It supports both adults and children and can be used in multiple ways, from drinking to cooking. Then there's pasta. It stores easily, lasts long, and offers a familiar base for meals. When combined with other items, it helps maintain a sense of normal eating patterns, which becomes more important over time. Oats come next. They're flexible, quick to prepare, and useful for both meals and extended energy. They work in the background, supporting consistency when options narrow. And finally, cooking oil. It's often overlooked, but it carries one of the highest calorie densities of any food. It enhances other staples, improves satiety, and helps stretch limited ingredients into complete meals. Each of these foods does something specific. Together, they create coverage. They reduce dependency on
The snack
constant
is cheap,
resupply.
but the bulk rice
And
is
they
a much
give you
better
options
deal.
when options become limited.
Plus, the
But
ingredients are
choosing
simpler,
the right foods
healthier
is
too.
only part of the equation.
Definitely going with the bulk
Understanding
option.
their value is what turns them into a real advantage. Because not all cheap food is efficient. Some items look affordable at the shelf, but provide very little in return. Low-calorie snacks, processed items, and packaged convenience foods often cost more per calorie than basic staples. They fill space, but not need. When you shift to cost per calorie thinking, the picture changes. Bulk staples, like rice, beans, and oats, deliver far more energy for the same cost. They stretch further, they last longer, and they reduce the need for constant replacement. This doesn't mean removing all variety. It means prioritizing what carries you through uncertainty. Fuel efficiency also becomes part of the equation. Foods that cook quickly or require minimal preparation reduce your dependency on gas, electricity, or other resources. Lentils, oats, and canned foods stand out here. They save time and they conserve energy. Then there's storage. This is where many people lose their advantage without realizing it. Food doesn't just expire, it degrades. Heat speeds that process, humidity invites mold, pests exploit weak packaging, and poor organization leads to waste. In warmer climates especially, these risks increase. A bag of rice left exposed can absorb moisture. Flour can attract insects. Oils can go rancid faster under heat. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires attention. Airtight containers, cool, dry storage areas, rotation, using older items first, and replacing them consistently. It's not about building a stockpile and forgetting it. It's about maintaining a system that stays usable, and that system should reflect where you live. Because environment changes everything. In humid regions, moisture control becomes critical. In dry climates, packaging durability matters more. In urban settings, space constraints require more efficient storage.
Can you pass the bread,
In
please?
rural areas, access might be less frequent, which means longer planning cycles. You don't copy a list blindly. You adapt it. That adaptability is what separates preparation from accumulation. There's also something less visible, but just as important: morale. Food is more than calories. It creates routine. It anchors the day. In uncertain conditions, that stability matters. A simple, reliable meal can reduce stress more than people expect. It keeps decision-making clear. It maintains a sense of normal life, even when external conditions are changing. Households that plan their food well don't just eat better, they think better. And that becomes a quiet advantage over time, because as disruptions stretch, the challenge
I'm measuring
shifts
out
again.
50 grams of
What felt
oats for a
temporary
balanced
starts to
breakfast.
feel normal. Weeks turn into months. Supply doesn't collapse,
See?
but
A
it doesn't
precise
fully
portion for
recover
a healthy
either.
start.
It stabilizes at a lower level of availability. At that point, rotation becomes critical. You're not just storing, you're cycling through your food, using it, replacing it, adjusting based on what you learn. Rationing becomes more intentional, not restrictive, but aware. You understand what you have, how long it can last, and how to extend it if needed. Diversification also matters. Even within these 9 foods, you create variation. Different types of beans, different grains, small adjustments that prevent dependency on a single source. This is where preparation becomes a long-term position, not a short-term reaction. And it doesn't require extremes. It requires consistency. Before you move on, take a moment to think about your own setup. Not in theory, but in reality. What's one item you always keep stocked, no matter what? Because that one habit is where most systems begin. Preparation is not panic. It is positioning. It's choosing stability before you need it. It's building options before they become limited. And it's doing it in a way that stays practical, not dramatic. When supply lines shift, and they will in one way or another, the difference shows quietly in what's available, in how people respond, in how long they can maintain normal life without stress. The goal isn't to predict the exact disruption. It's to reduce your dependency on perfect conditions. And that starts with what you choose to store. Because in the end, preparation does something simple but powerful. It removes uncertainty.